guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Jaya, and today we are going to be doing one of my favorite videos, which is anticipated reads for this upcoming year. Now, at the beginning of the year, there's always so many new books that are going to be released, and it would not be a normal production on my channel without talking about all the new books that are going to be releasing. So without further ado, we'll hop into it. It's reading time here at JB's Corner. I also just wanted to introduce myself real quick. My name is Jaya. For those of you that are new here, I put out bookish related videos every Wednesday and Sunday on all bookish related content. We primarily read fiction on this channel, but I do read a bunch of different genres, and every January I do tend to read more of the memoirs and the nonfiction books. So if that's more of your interest, that'll definitely show up in the upcoming video with the reading wrap up for this month that will feature in February. But this specifically is related to books that will be releasing in 2026. And if that sounds like something that you may enjoy, definitely stick around. Here we go. Let's start with contemporary romance, guys. So on the left-hand side from me, and probably from you guys as well, depending on how you're looking at the screen, the first book I have that I wanted to talk about is Lucy Score's Mistakes Were Made. I'm so sorry. I don't know why. Okay. Let's try that again. Mistakes Were Made by Lucy Score is the first book that we're going to be talking about. This is a book about a literary agent named Zoe Moody, who has been exiled from the Manhattan publishing scene to small-town Pennsylvania with her best friend and only remaining client, romance novelist Hazel Hart. Zoe's bank account is running on fumes, forcing her to liquidate her designer wardrobe to make ends meet. But this plucky heroine has a plan to climb her way back up to the top. Nothing will stand in her way. Okay, except maybe a 6'2" blue-collar landlord, Gage Bishop. He's smart, serious, and sexy. When he isn't practicing law, he's working with his equally attractive brothers in the family construction business. Worst of all, he's ready to settle down. Zoe might be the most beautiful, infuriating woman Gage has ever met, but her special brand of chaos makes it clear they're all wrong for each other. She's allergic to commitment and afraid of animals, and he's looking for a wife and lives in a literal barn. For clarification, it's a converted barn, but he does live there with a golden retriever who doesn't understand the concept of personal space. These opposites can attract all they want. They both know it'll never work out. For one, even if she wanted to, Zoe can never give him what he wants. But when Gage's world is rocked by a devastating family secret, he turns to Zoe for one night to forget everything. And that one night might change everything. Or ruin it. Yeah, that's more likely. So that's our first book, which was Mistakes Were Made. I'm very excited for that one. It's actually the second book in the series. And Story of My Life was the first book in that series, which was adorable. So I did enjoy that one quite a bit. And I think I'm excited for Mistakes Were Made because it's actually deviating from the usual Lucy Score plot point. And I think it should be fun to read quite a bit. And yeah, I'm very excited for it. Abby Jimenez is another favorite author of mine in this sphere of contemporary romance. And so when I realized that she's going to be releasing another book this year, I knew I had to get my hands on it. So let's talk a little bit about what The Night We Met is about. In everyone's life, there's a split-second decision that can change everything. For Larissa, it came when choosing who to ride home with after a concert. That night, she had no idea she'd met the perfect man. She and Chris are great friends, co-parenting a slightly unhinged rescue Yorkie, sharing their favorite books, and judging bread pumpernickel for the win. For the first time amid all her side hustles to scrape by, things finally feel easy. But she didn't choose Chris to drive her home all those months ago. She went with his best friend, and he became her boyfriend. All Chris wants is for Larissa to be happy. Standing by on the sidelines is slowly killing him, but making a move would destroy someone else. How can something that feels so right be absolutely impossible? I do think this is going to be a really sweet book to read. I have found that in general, Abby Jimenez books tends to be very emotional, very sweet, and I do think it has a lot to be taken away from the books themselves. So I'm definitely excited to read them. I really enjoyed the last book that she wrote. It Happened One Summer. Is that the one? I think that was the most recent one. I may be mistaken, but that one was very sweet to read. And I also really enjoyed the entire A Part of Your World series, which is a total of 3 books. That one was absolutely phenomenal, and I remember rating every single one of them 5 stars. Abby Jimenez just makes me cry, laugh, smile. Similarly, I didn't really speak too much to Lucy Score because she's just written so many different books, but I really enjoyed her romance series where it's talking about a psychic who also ends up working with a detective, and they basically solve murders. That series was absolutely hilarious. And then I also ended up reading the Knock 'Em Out series, which is a very popularized series in the reading community, especially in the romance circle, and I ended up thoroughly enjoying that reading and writing style as well. So, you know, I do see a lot of positives for Lucy Score as well, and I have enjoyed most of the books I've read by her. I will say the more I tend to read her, the more it feels repetitive. So I don't know if I will continue forever reading Lucy Score, but at least right now it definitely hits the spot when I'm just looking for a warm comfort book. And now back to you is B.K Borison's next book that is coming out. It will be following First Time Caller, which is a book she had released, I want to say early last year or the year before, and it was very Sleepless in Seattle vibes. So I'm really excited to see where this next book is going to take us. 2 competing meteorologists are forced to find common ground in this opposites attract when Harry met Sally inspired romance from the New York Times bestselling author B.K Borison. Jackson Clark and Delilah Stewart have had their fair share of run-ins over the years, often ending in disaster. While Jackson thrives on routine and organization from the comfort of his radio booth, Delilah loves the spontaneity and adventure out in the field. When they're partnered against their will to cover a historic snowstorm, they find themselves scrambling to figure out how to work together. Easier to be taken seriously as a journalist, Delilah offers Jackson a deal. If he can help her ace this assignment, she'll help him rediscover his long-lost fun side. With unexplored chemistry burning beneath their clashes, the unlikely partnership quickly tumbles into an easy and surprising friendship. But when other feelings start to enter the equation, can Jackson and Delilah withstand the storm? Or does what happens in the mountains stay in the mountains? So I'm excited for this one. I think it should be super cute. We kind of got a feel for Jackson's character in the previous book, and he just sounds like he is a little uptight, a little serious, and just needs a breath of fresh air. So I'm really excited to see how Delilah's character kind of plays into that. I'm also hopeful that we'll get to see the other 2 characters from the first book in this book as well. But from my understanding, it is supposed to be a standalone novel. Finally, in the contemporary romance section, we have The Shippers by Katherine Center. She's also an author that I absolutely love, and I feel like a lot of her books have also caused a lot of thought-provoking conversation, and I think she does write about some topics that may be a little bit unique outside of just the classic romance, although she does do that as well. So I'm really excited to read The Shippers. Destination Wedding on a Cruise Ship. After a whole lifetime of being bad at love, JoJo Burton decides to solve her intimacy issues once and for all at her sister's destination wedding on a cruise ship. With the help of a little pop psychology, she diagnoses herself with a fixation on the neighborhood guy who was her first crush and first kiss, and who just happens to be a newly divorced wedding guest. And she decides to woo him during the cruise for some long-delayed closure. Only problem is, her sister's a little busy being a bride at the moment, so JoJo ropes in her childhood bestie, Cooper Watts, to be her wingman. Cooper, who's RSVP'd no, but then showed up anyway. Cooper, who left town without a word 4 years earlier and moved to London. Cooper, who was, if she was honest, the worst heartbreak of JoJo's life. It's bliss for her to see him again, and it's agony too. And the more they team up for Project Conquest, the more she obsesses over the questions she can't bring herself to ask. Shipboard antics ensue in this witty, heart-tugging, childhood friends-to-lover romance as JoJo and Cooper fake flirt, slow dance, share a cabin, sing duets, treat sunburns, get jealous, rescue each other over and over and over, and finally at last figure it all out in the most blissful, swoony, romantic way. No one does summer romance quite like Katherine Center, I do agree. The Shippers will take readers on the cruise of a lifetime in a story awash with romantic longing, top-notch banter, long-held secrets, and true love rediscovered. Does that not sound sweet? That sounds adorable to me. I think that would be a beautiful romance to read. Definitely very excited for it, and I do think it's going to be a blast to read this book. Next up, we have some favorite authors. Now, First and Forever is a Lynn Painter book. Lynn Painter does both young adult as well as adult novels. They are often romance novels, and I will say I'm more partial to her young adult books, but I know that First and Forever is one of her new books that is now coming out, and it is for adults, if I'm not mistaken. A football star and his team's diehard fan find themselves entangled in a PR stunt that only one side knows is fake, but it might just be the right play. A football star and his team... Wait, sorry. Why is it doing that? Okay. Duffy DiStefano loves three things: her dad, the family cat, and Minneapolis Coyote football. So after she gets booed out of a game and becomes the internet's villain following an awful encounter with the team's beloved mascot, she is disgruntled, to put it mildly. Eager to clear the air, Duffy agrees to an interview on a hit morning show. She doesn't expect a co-guest to join her, especially not the Coyotes' star tight end. When MVP Connor Cunningham gets tasked with damage control to help his team out of a PR nightmare involving its mascot, he thinks that means saying a few words on the Coyotes' behalf. Instead, he finds himself in a highly amusing verbal sparring match with a recently wronged fan on live TV. Duffy pelts him with fiery jabs, but is also clearly diehard about the Coyotes. Color him intrigued and attracted. The interview instantly goes viral, and the public is obsessed with them. A strong push from the Coyotes PR team to ride the wave results in Connor asking Duffy out. Despite his distaste for PR stunts, he discovers being with Duffy is much easier than he anticipated, and somehow it doesn't feel fake to him. The secret can only blow up, but all he knows is if that means he messes things up with Duffy, it'll be the greatest fumble of his life. That one just sounds cute. I think it should be a fun romance to read. It sounds like it's going to be pretty predictable, but I do think it should be enjoyable nonetheless. We Burn So Bright is a TJ Klune novel. For those who know, I actually did a full video dedicated to TJ Klune and his books, and I'm absolutely obsessed with anything this author puts out in the adult space. So when I found out his new book is coming, I of course had to have it on this list. We Burn So Bright, a heart-wrenching standalone novel, follows an elderly gay couple on an end-of-the-world road trip. The road stretched out before them, no other cars, just the headlights on the backdrop. Above the cracked moon in a kaleidoscope sky. Husbands Don and Rodney have lived a good, long life. Together they've experienced the highest and highs of love and family and the lows of lows, that they felt like the end of the world. Now the world is ending for real. A rogue black hole is coming for Earth, and in a month, everything and everyone they've ever known will be gone. Suddenly, after 40 years to go there, Don and Rodney are out of time. They're in a race against the clock to make it from Maine to Washington State to take care of some unfinished business before it's all over. On the road, they meet those who refuse to believe death is coming and those who's rushed to meet it. But there are also people living their final days as best as they know how. Impromptu weddings, bright burning bonfires, shared meals, and new friends. And as the black hole draws near, among lightning and under a cracked moon in a kaleidoscope sky, Don and Rodney will look back on their lives and ask if their best was good enough. Is it enough to burn bright if nothing comes from the ashes? I teared up just thinking about that. Wow, what a powerful, powerful end statement. But there's just something so brilliant in the way that TJ Klune writes. I feel like the way he captures just basic, simple emotions that are so powerful and so strong is beautifully seen. And I think he really does a lot to capture like societal questions as well in a beautiful, captivating way where he doesn't really lay blame anywhere, but he kind of expresses the importance of being open-minded. And I love the way he writes. I just think he's a beautiful, beautiful writer, and I'm so thankful to have discovered him. Throne of Nightmares is written by Kerri Maniscalco. Kerri Maniscalco happens to be one of my all-time favorite fantasy authors. She wrote one of my favorite series of all times, which is Kingdom of the Wicked, which was originally written for young adult, but I think it's more of an adult vibe. And then now she's releasing the Princes of Sin's book, which is standalone books of each of the other brothers in the Circle of Hell who are Princes of Sin. So, Throne of Nightmares is the third book in that series. We had Throne of the Fallen, then Throne of the Secrets, and now this one. Throne of the Fallen followed Envy. The first original series, Kingdom of the Wicked, followed Wrath. And then we had Throne of Secrets, which followed Gluttony. This book will be following Sloth. In this action-packed, standalone fantasy romance from New York Times bestselling author Kerri Maniscalco, a book of dangerous magic draws two readers into a perilous quest to find it and their own happy ending. Beware of waking the gods. Their dreams are often our nightmares. A prince who prefers games of the head to those of the heart. Prince Sloth hates leaving his enchanted library. But when a forgotten deity threatens the very fabric of the underworld, he's thrust into a race against time. He must find the Book of Nightmares, an ancient artifact that has the power to break worlds before it unleashes a deadly game to free its master, the Goddess of Night. When a betrayal leaves him marked and desperate, his path collides with a young woman who possesses the legendary Phoenix Tear, a portal stone unlike any other. A librarian who's all sweet sunshine until she burns. Laura Brimstone has always loved getting lost in a book, but she never meant literally. Yet after visiting a traveling caravan, she quickly finds herself transported to a terrifying but oddly familiar world with the worst twisted prince at her side. Realizing they are living out their favorite novels one by one, they face off against an increasingly dark magic as they try to survive the story. A twisted tale that means they can't trust themselves or their hearts. As Laura and Sloth navigate the pages of her beloved novels gone wrong, she must channel her inner main character to defeat the Book of Nightmares before the wall between the gods and the mortals come crashing down, dooming them all. Does that not sound amazing? Like, oh my god, I definitely think it sounds amazing. I think that this is one of those where I am going to eat it up. I think any book that talks books is always incredible, but a book that is causing nightmares and the only way to get out of it is to continue to moving through books and to have a romance with a character that you may not particularly be interested, enemies to lovers vibe. It just sounds great. I'm just so excited for the premise of this book as well as what it has to offer, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this book in the upcoming months. So let's see what's next. Fantasy and romantasy. This is honestly probably one of my favorite categories, I'm not gonna lie. Adversary to the Villain is going to be the fourth and I believe the final installment in the Hannah Nicole Maehrer series, Assistant to the Villain. I am so excited for this one. We just found out some very, very important information about certain characters and who's the villain and who's not the villain and all this other stuff. And I am pumped to see where the story goes. We've also gotten more information on Kingsley, who is, of course, a prince turned frog. We've also been introduced to a new character who I think is going to have more of a role in this particular book, in the sense that she's going to play a role in getting Kingsley to become his original self again. And we know the villain and Evie are going to be dealing with their own BS. Meanwhile, we also have Claire and we have Rebecca and we have Blade and all the other characters who are making a reappearance. So overall, just very, very pumped for Adversary to the Villain. Now, currently, there's no details on what this book's storyline is going to be. So that, unfortunately, we do not know. But I'm still very excited to read Adversary to the Villain, and I cannot wait until it releases. Next up, The Divine. So Harper L. Wood's series, this is the one where it started with The Coven, The Cursed, and then it went into The Damned, and now it's going to be The Divine. So the first two books are following the story of basically Alaric, and we're also following the story of our main female character, whose name I am currently blanking on, but she is a very, very important character. The second set of books is actually following the story of Margot and Beelzebub. So let's see what that one has to offer. The Divine, tricked. She succumbed to death to save his life. Margot is no longer her own. Her life has been stolen, a soul for a soul, a price to pay for her love. But now the voice she cursed is the only thing that can save her, save them. After all, death is only the beginning. So very curious to see where that story is going to take us. It took us a long time to get to a point where Beelzebub and Margot kind of accept that they have feelings for each other. And obviously they're now in the ninth circle of hell when everything goes to shit. And so now Margot has to figure out a way to protect Beelzebub as well as herself. And I think it'll be very interesting to see where the story takes us from there. Moving on, The Lion and the Deathless Dark is the first book in the third set of duologies within the 6 books in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. Okay, let's back up a little bit there because that was a lot. Crowns of Nyaxia started with the Serpent and the, what was it called? The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which is basically originally following the story of Araya, there we go. Araya and Rain. And we then go to the second set of books, which is going to be following Misha and her love interest, whose name I'm now blanking on. I do apologize. And now we're finally on the third set of books, which is going to be following the story of Septimus. Now, the reason why the books are technically duologies that are then put together is each set of books is following a different vampire clan. So we had the ones that followed the vampires of night, then we had the shadow vampires, and now we're dealing with the bloodletting vampires, if I'm not mistaken. So let's read what this one's going to be about. The Lion and the Deathless Dark. Some blood tastes like vengeance. Some blood tastes like grief. Some blood tastes like nothing at all. Under an eternal night, the world has been ravaged by 10 years of war between humans and vampires. Kyrene scrapes by as a bounty hunter, bearing a blessed sword from the goddess of justice. But in the wake of a devastating loss, Kyrene commits a crime that makes her a target for mortals and gods alike, and she is still desperate for vengeance. Her only chance at survival and revenge is making a deal with her enemy, the silver-tongued vampire prince Septimus, who offers her one final job: to slay the gods themselves. Her only chance at survival, the revenge is making... we already read that. Together, Kyrene and Septimus must hunt the ultimate marks, all while navigating a web of prophecies and curses. Septimus is calculating and mysterious, masking secrets bloodthirsty enough to consume them both. Yet the most dangerous of all, Kyrene finds an unexpected kinship in him. But their growing attraction is deadly in a world where the only currency is blood, and Kyrene will stop at nothing to fulfill her ultimate goal, to kill the goddess of vampires, even if it means sacrificing love for revenge. So I'm very excited to see where this series takes us. I think it's going to be a great culmination of all the war that has started. So in the first few books, we kind of get to see what the different vampire kingdoms are. And then we see Araya kind of fighting for her place and Rain kind of fighting for his place within the vampires, the Night Clan or whatever. And then we also get introduced to Nyaxia, who is the goddess of vampires and the goddess of darkness and chaos and all these other things. And basically, she and her beloved are believed to be the complete antithesis to the real gods, who are the gods of light. Misha, who was introduced in the first set of books, is considered a goddess, an apprentice of the god of sun, but she ends up becoming a vampire, and so he forsakes her. So she just wants to do nothing more than to go back to the light, but she's unable to do so when he appears in her dream and gives her one last task to basically kill the god of darkness himself. And so a bunch of different things ensue in that series, but we finally get to see how the gods actually are. That at the end of the day, they're just giant children stomping around on the grounds that they've created. And so now this book is going to be the final play and all of that. And it's following the House of Blood, which is the vampires that have been cursed, which is the house that Septimus belongs to and he's the crown prince of, and he's just trying to survive and keep his people alive. So I think it'll be very interesting to see the politics in this book, and I think that while the romance will be stressed, these books will definitely be more political, and I think they're going to be very interesting to read, especially since we've already gotten a little bit of exposure to Septimus in the first and second set of books. Cinder Vale. So Cinder Vale is the third book within the new series that Carolyn Peckham and Susanne Valenti have released within the world of the Zodiac Academy. Now, for those who have not seen those reviews, I did end up reviewing the Zodiac Academy as well as the Darkmoor Penitentiary series, as well as the, what is it called? The Dark Fae series. Basically the one with the boys and Elise, and I hated that series, to be quite honest, because I can't stand the main female character. But I did talk about that series as well. So all three series have been reviewed at some point on this channel. Cinder Vale, I believe, is the third and final book within the new series that she had released, which started with Never Keep. And I believe it's a spin-off in the Solar, in the same kingdom, but it is based on the children of the main characters from the previous series. So I'm really hopeful to finally be able to sit down and start this series and kind of see where it takes me. I really wanted the series to be complete before I sat down and read it so that I remember all the details going into each of the next books. But I am very excited to be reading them, and I am excited to see what happens when Cinder Vale comes out. Mystery books. I know that mystery is one of those where I don't read it very often, but when I do read it, I really enjoy it. And I kind of have months and periods in the year where I crave a good mystery, March being one of those time frames. So I was not only excited to add these to my list of anticipated reads, but in particular, I was very excited when I saw that Riley Sager and Laura Dave are both releasing a book. And the Laura Dave book in particular, I'm very excited for because the last time I read a book by her that I absolutely adored and was obsessed with, it was called The Last Thing He Said to Me, or something like that. The last time I saw him. And it was phenomenal. And I believe this is the second book sequel to that book, so I'm very excited for it. So here we go. The first time I saw him, how far would you go for a second chance? 5 years after her husband Owen disappeared, Hannah Hall and her stepdaughter Bailey have settled into a new life in Southern California. Together they forged a relationship with Bailey's grandfather Nicholas and are putting the past behind him. But when Owen shows up at Hannah's new exhibition, she knows that she and Bailey are in danger again. Hannah and Bailey are forced to go on the run in a relentless race to keep their past from catching up with them. As a thrilling drama unfolds, Hannah risks everything to get Bailey to safety and finds there just might be a way back to Owen and their long-awaited second chance. So I'm really, really excited to read this. I think it's going to be so much fun. I loved the characters in this book. I absolutely adored both Hannah and Bailey in the first book, and I'm very curious to see what role Owen will play as we get to see him more in the second book. So I'm very curious to see what this reimagined sequel is going to look like since the prequel was so good. The Unknown. Another author that I say that I will read no matter what book he puts out is Riley Sager. I just love his mysteries. I love his thrillers. And while some of them are better than others, I haven't really read one that's below a 3-star read. So I am very excited to read The Unknown. In 1926, 5 women disappeared from a remote island in Vermont. Now, 100 years later, it's happening again. Struggling actress Maren Keane is shocked when she lands a role in a major motion picture about an unresolved mystery of New Avalon, an island on sprawling Lake Faraday in Vermont. She's even more surprised when she learns that the role requires a week-long research trip to the very spot. Because New Avalon isn't your ordinary island, a century ago it was a commune for spiritual mediums until they all vanished in 1926. The only trace of them was 5 dresses hanging from the branches of an old oak tree in the middle of the island, one for each missing woman. Some locals say they simply left. Others think they were murdered. But the prevailing opinion, thanks to a diary left behind one of the vanished, a young woman named Daisy Rue, is that a seance gone wrong conjured something supernatural that took them all one by one. Not long after arriving, Maren and her classmates, including legendary actress Violet Wright and white-hot director Ronan Peters, began to realize all is not right with New Avalon. They hear strange noises in the night and notice mysterious symbols left behind by the island's previous occupants. And after a sudden health emergency leaves Maren, Ronan, and the other actors stranded on the island, the disappearances begin again. Is the work of someone trying to derail the movie? Or is it the island's alleged supernatural past catching up with the present? As fear and suspicion mount, Maren turns to Daisy's diary, hoping it holds the key to figuring out what really happened to the women of New Avalon and how to keep the island's terrible history from repeating itself. So that one just sounds like it's going to be really fun. I'm very excited for it. I definitely feel like this is probably going to be more similar to The House Across the Lake. And I remember that one was very fun to read. It was unique for Riley Sager and the premises he typically writes from. So I'm very curious to see how he combines the mystery and the supernatural in this book as we start following Maren and her cast and crew as they're trying to direct this movie. Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson. He also wrote a book called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and that one was very entertaining. It was basically a story of how every single person in his family was believed to have committed a murder of some kind, and then they were basically stuck in this remote holiday setting where all the family is together, but none of the family actually gets along. And then there's a murderer on the loose as well. And so they have to figure out who the murderer is and basically work together to stop him while simultaneously not believing in each other and believing that they are responsible for committing various heinous crimes within the family itself. So this one is kind of a similar perspective in the sense that it's like 10 heists with 10 suspects, and each of the suspects has a cause and a reason for being believed that they may be the one that's robbing the bank. And then as the story progresses, you get to basically unfold what happened and what led to the craziness within that bank and all of these characters. So here we go. 10 heists, 10 suspects. A murder mystery only Ernest Cunningham can solve in this delightfully clever and twisty new novel in Benjamin Stevenson's best-selling series, perfect for fans of Richard Osman and Anthony Horowitz. I spent the last few years solving murders, but a bank heist is a new one. Even for me, I've never been a hostage before. The doors are chained shut, no one in or out, which means that when someone in the bank is murdered, everyone is a suspect. The bank robber, the manager, the security guard, the kid, the film producer, the priest, the receptionist, the patient, the caregiver, and me. Turns out more than one person planned to rob the bank today. You can steal more from a bank than just money. Who is stealing what? Are they willing to kill for it? And can I solve the crime before the police kick down the door and rescue us? I think this one's going to be a really fun one. I'm very excited to read this book. I think it's just going to be a fun scavenger hunty, thriller, murdery, mystery book. And I'm so excited to pull this out when it finally releases. Serial killer romance. Now, this is a very different type of dark romance, I feel like, because it is in the realm of like stalker romance or serial killer romance. And I remember loving Stabby Abby's books. That's not her actual names, but it's St. Abby. And she wrote the Mind F series, and that was phenomenal. That's kind of what was my foray into this genre. And then I ended up reading Brynne Weaver's The Ruinous trilogy, and I absolutely loved all three of those books and the characters and the way that they were developed. So I'm very excited to finally get to the Navessa Allen books. But when I found out the third book of the Into Darkness novels is coming out, I absolutely decided to wait until this book comes out and then I'll read all three together. And Harvest Season is the second book within the Seasons of Carnage trilogy, which is basically following two main characters in the city of Carnage, which is a town that basically is known for a serial killer having lived there. And so they kind of lean into it and it's a touristy vibe. However, two of the characters that are living here are actual serial murderers themselves, but they only go after those who have wronged them or are genuinely terrible people. So it's a very interesting storyline. And then as the book continues, at the end of the first book, we're kind of left on a cliffhanger in terms of where the two main characters are now standing. And so Harvest Season kind of picks up from there. So Game On, let's talk about that one. It says, I hate that woman. Tyler Newman has spent years looking for his father, not because he wants to meet the man. No, he wants to destroy him, and he'll manipulate whoever he can to exact his revenge, including Stella McCormick. She's everything Tyler hates. Her wealth and privilege have protected her for her entire life, and Tyler thinks it's time she's finally paid the price, whether she's ready to or not. I hate that man. Stella might not believe in love at first sight, but loathing at first sight, no question. From the moment she sets eyes on Tyler in her tattoo parlor, she knows he's the devil planning to make life hell. Forced to play the part of his girlfriend and invite him into her family's glittering circles, Stella quickly clocks Tyler's ulterior motives. But love and hate are two sides of the same coin, and soon she doesn't know which is worse, being blackmailed by a man who wants to ruin her, or that they can't seem to keep their hands off each other. So I think this will be an interesting one to read. I do like a good lovers to enemies storyline, and of course there's going to be like murder and betrayal and all that other crap in this as well, because at the end of the day, it's a dark romance. Let's talk Harvest Season. It's time to reap what you sow. Cape Carnage is blooming with secrets, and they're ready to harvest. But every time Nolan Rhodes digs one up, another grows in its place. Harper isn't who he thought she was. Arthur might be more sinister than he first thought, and Sheriff Yates, the man, is everywhere he turns. When true crime fanatics descend on the town looking for answers about death of their leader, Nolan finds himself at the center of a search and rescue operation for missing people he knows are already dead. Cape Carnage teeters on the brink of chaos, and the harder Nolan tries to keep it together, the closer Harper comes to unraveling. Harper Sterling has risked everything to bury her trauma in Cape Carnage. But now that Nolan has unearthed her past, her whole life seems ready to break apart. And who can she trust? The enigmatic man she's falling in love with? He came to kill her. The serial killer mentor she's vowed to protect? He's become an unpredictable menace. The woman in the mirror? She might be the most dangerous of all. Loyalties are tested, bonds are bent to a breaking point, and love, that might be the deadliest trap of all. So I'm very curious to read this one as well. I really did enjoy the Ruinous Love trilogy, and I did really enjoy the first book in this series. So I'm very, very, very excited to see what harvest season has to offer us. Last but not least, we're going to talk sci-fi. Now, in terms of my favorite authors that I kind of got exposed to actually this past year, Blake Crouch and Andy and all these people, I didn't really see new books that they were releasing. But when I found out VE Schwab was going to be releasing the third and final book in the Vicious and Vengeful series, first off, I was super excited because I didn't even know there was a third book in the makes. And now that I know that it is there and it's being published and she's taking the time to really write this, I know it's going to be amazing. And I can't wait to read this story. Victorious, the extraordinary of Merit City, a secret group of individuals gifted with the power connected to their manner of near-death experience, have been keeping a low profile, avoiding the ever-watchful eye of Eon in the wake of the showdown with Marcella and Eli. But when Eon and its relationship to the Extraordinaries began to change under the leadership of a new director with a terrifying agenda, the time for hiding is over. The path to the truth of what happened to Eon leads Victor, Sydney, Mitch, and the rest into the enemy's lair at Eon headquarters, where they encounter unexpected allies, shocking new abilities, and the ultimate confrontation. I'm going to reread that because I don't think I read that correctly. Here we go. The path to the truth of what happened to Eon leads Victor, Sydney, Mitch, and the rest of the enemy's lair to Eon's headquarters, where they encounter unexpected allies, shocking new abilities, and the ultimate confrontation. That makes a lot more sense. Against all the years, the betrayals, and the odds, the arch rivals and their allies will meet for a final time on a chessboard laid out by a rival they didn't expect. So again, super pumped and super excited for this sci-fi novel and where the end of this journey is going to take us in terms of Victor and Eli, as well as Sydney, Micah, all the other characters that we were introduced to throughout the course of the first two books. I can honestly say Vicious and Vengeful were probably some of the best reads that I ended up reading this past year, and I would definitely recommend them to anyone who is interested in picking up those novels. They are brilliantly written. They are satirical, they're funny, they're enjoyable, they're crazy. It's basically like Marvel or DC movies on steroids, and only the difference is that very similar to the Mutants maybe, where on both sides, good and bad, we have people with power. And in each case, we can understand where the characters are coming from. Morally great characters all around. Just beautifully, beautifully written series. Would strongly, strongly recommend. And that does bring me to the end of this video. I'm going to stop the share here real quick and we will just focus here. I just wanted to say to each and every one of you who actually sat and watched this video, thank you so much for your time, your energy that you've expelled into watching this video. I realize it is a longer one and I realize there was a lot of books that we discussed today, but I genuinely feel like this book it's just so much fun to create this video and see what new books are coming out. I'm sure there's going to be other books that I end up picking up throughout the course of this year, but these are just some of my favorite authors and some of the books that I am definitely anticipating for this year. I would love to know what books you guys are interested in, what books you guys are looking forward to. Definitely leave me comments below. Let me know if there's any books that I need to pick up and read, because I genuinely love reading those comments that you guys leave behind and communicating with you guys and creating a bookish community here in this little corner of the internet. Once again, for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. For those of you that have been a part of the community, a part of the family, and come back and watch these videos regularly, I cannot thank you enough for your support, for your kindness, for your welcoming energy. And I just love how amazing and kind the bookish community is. And it has been an absolute honor to be able to discuss books with you guys, and I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. For those of you that are new, once again, I just wanted to mention that if you are interested in joining the family, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell so you never miss out on any new uploads or videos. And I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday. I just wanted to leave you guys with this. Wherever you are, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day it is, I hope all of you are finding enough time to rest, relax, reset, enjoy quality time with loved ones, and definitely have enough time to pick up a beautiful book. Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.